Welcome, and good to have you here this afternoon. Beautiful weather here in the beautiful city of Edmonton, Alberta. I want to acknowledge that Edmonton is on the territory of Treaty 6 nations. It also has great importance to our Métis people, and of course many people from around the world, and today especially I also want to acknowledge people from Ukraine. Welcome here to Canada, Alberta, to Edmonton, and to today's important celebration. I'm happy to introduce in just a second here. I want to say a few things first though. Ariana Whitlow to perform O Canada with us. There she is, yes. She's an accomplished artist, performed around the world, but actually began with the Ukrainian-Shumka dancers in touring, and she is also the daughter of the late Gene Zadowski, who was an Alberta MLA, cabinet minister, and speaker of the Legislative Assembly. And he did make a great contribution to the Ukrainian community and all of Alberta over the course of his career, including proclaiming Ukrainian-Canadian Heritage Day here in Alberta. So, Ariana, if you would please come and lead us in O Canada. Thank you. Everybody would rise.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ariana. I'd also like to acknowledge today, just before we begin, that we have a couple of other MLAs with us, starting with Minister Madu. Thank you for joining us, sir. Glad to have you here with us today. I also notice MLA Lovely, MLA Smith, MLA Aheer, and are there any others that I missed? I don't think so. I'm sorry if I missed anyone. So today, we're here to celebrate 130 years of Ukrainian Albertan heritage. Yes, I'm sorry. Please be seated. My fault. Thank you. On this day in 1861, hard for us to even imagine what it was like then. The first recorded Ukrainian immigrants arrived in Canada, here in Alberta. Ivan Piloviev and Vasil Yalenka, I think I pronounced that right, close. They were the start of a wave of immigrants from Ukraine, many of whom settled here in central Alberta. In fact, the marker of the first Ukrainian settlement in Alberta is less than an hour's drive from here, just to the east, northeast a little bit. And over the years, the descendants of these pioneers, as well as a steady stream of immigrants, really, who continue to come to Alberta from Ukraine, have helped build this province into what it is today. So thank you for that, truly. It's a place where Alberta is a place where people can build a future for their families, and a place where people are resourceful and generous, and the Ukrainian people have demonstrated that over and over and over again. Ukrainian culture has actually helped create Alberta's own unique culture and identity as to who we are and who we understand ourselves to be. And celebrating the unique heritages of this group helps us remind us of some of the origins of our province, some of who we are, and maybe even what we can become. Because we grow stronger together when we come together, when we share our traditions, when we share our values, when we understand each other, we grow as a people, as Albertans. This year also marks another important milestone for the Ukrainian community and around the world, actually. It is the 30th anniversary of Ukrainian independence. And I was privileged to be able to be at a celebration a week or so ago. I out at Pigeon Lake, where some of that was celebrated as well. It was a great day, and thank you for the invitation to be able to be there. So on behalf of the Government of Alberta and our Premier, I would like to congratulate our Ukrainian friends on this great achievement around the world celebrating. And it's my pleasure now to introduce Her Honor, the Honorable Salma Lakhani, Lieutenant Governor of the Province of Alberta.
Thank you, Minister Orr. Consul General Danyleiko Oleksandr, elected officials, and distinguished guests. As treaty people, we acknowledge all our First People who have called this place home for thousands of years and who welcomed us here to make our own lives. May we always dwell together on these lands with respect and peace. As Minister Orr mentioned, 130 years ago, immigrant Ukrainians were forging a new life on the land that would become Alberta. Ivan Pilipov and Vasyl Eleniak arrived in 1891 and brought several families to settle here a year later. Pilipov helped found the Edna Star settlement east of Edmonton. Through hard work, resilience, resourcefulness, and generous community focus, the Ukrainian settlements in the Park Belt and Northern Forest regions of Alberta had grown substantially by the early 1900s. As new immigrants to this country ourselves, it was only after reading Myrna Kostash's book, All of Baba's Children, that my husband and I acquired a better understanding of the incredibly difficult and challenging conditions that early Ukrainian pioneers faced. In addition to the hardship of homesteading, during the period of the First World War, thousands of Ukrainian Canadians were interned as enemy aliens, even as many served in uniform. Despite this, Canadians of Ukrainian descent remained committed to life here in Alberta and Canada and continue to this day to make remarkable contributions in the arts, culture, economy, science, sports, and politics. Indeed, every aspect of our vibrant and diverse province and country. The Honorable Ray Natishin was Governor General of Canada from 1990 to 95. Roberta Bondar was the first Canadian woman in space. Playwright George Rigger, raised in northern Alberta, depicted the plight of our Indigenous peoples. Philip Canova received the Victoria Cross for action at Hill 70 in the First World War. The Stelmach homestead was raised in the early 1900s, and as many of us fondly remember, the late Jean Zwiezdewski, who was a personal friend of my husband's and myself, and there are countless other Ukrainians we could name, but I won't do that in the interest of time. As Her Majesty the Queen's representative in Alberta, I commend and thank all Ukrainian Canadians for their contributions to our province of Alberta and for their ongoing dedication to making this the place we all want to live and thrive in. To the members of the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress, Alberta Provincial Council, under the leadership of Orissa Boychuk, thank you for everything you do to foster the ongoing success of the Ukrainian community and our province as a whole. And a special thank you to all of the dedicated volunteers who keep the community strong. And finally, to Consul General Oleksandr, it was such a pleasure to meet you earlier today, and I do hope that our paths will cross again many, many times. I wish you every success in continuing to foster the relationship between our province and your country, Ukraine. Thank you to Minister Orr and his amazing team for bringing us all together for this important celebration and flag-raising ceremony. I'm truly honored and privileged to be here. I wish everyone a very happy Ukrainian-Canadian Heritage Day. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Your Honor, and for sharing those informative and encouraging words. And now I would like to introduce Oleksandr Danyleiko, the Consul General of Ukraine, stationed right here in Edmonton. So, please.
Thank you, Minister Orr. Your Honor, Salma, Lakhani, Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, Honorable Minister Orr, members of the Legislative Assembly of Alberta, ministers, дорога українська громада, ladies and gentlemen. Today we ride the Ukrainian flag here in Edmonton, in the capital of the beautiful province of Alberta, celebrating the Ukrainian-Canadian Heritage Day. It's a very symbolic celebration this year. This year we also celebrate the 30th anniversary of Ukraine's independence and mark 130th anniversary of first Ukrainian settlement in Canada. And when this immigration from Ukraine began, it was just two of them who came here 130 years ago. But now there are about 1.4 million Canadians of Ukrainian descent in this country. Only in Alberta, about 370,000 people have Ukrainian roots. And I'm so proud and honored to be the official representative of Ukraine here in Alberta, where so many Ukrainians live and work. For about 3 years I've already spent here. I've learned a lot about the settlement and formation of Ukrainian community here, about the significant contribution that Ukrainians have made to the development of Canada and the province of Alberta, how they preserve the unique Ukrainian culture and traditions here, how they keep their ties with the motherland and help Ukraine in any possible ways when our country badly needs it. 130 years. It's a lot from the perspective of one human life, but it's a very short period from the historic perspective. For slightly more than a century, Ukrainians have become the vibrant and important part of the Canadian society, contributed tremendously to the development of this country and the province. Their achievements are very well known and very well recognized in all spheres of Canadian life. Politicians and scientists, musicians and artists, sportsmen and public leaders, proud Canadians with Ukrainian descent. They wrote many bright pages of Canadian history, making Canada one of the best countries in the world, together with other nations living and working here. Ukrainian culture, traditions, music became the integral and vibrant part of the multicultural Canadian society and enriched it greatly. I can't recall any other country in the world or the province in Canada where so many famous landmarks came from Ukrainian heritage. In Alberta we have the biggest in the world, the Ukrainian Писанка in Vegreville, giant pierogi in Glendon, Ковбаса in Madère. So it's a lot of signs of Ukrainian heritage Ukrainians brought here to Alberta. In Edmonton we have the world famous Ukrainian dance ensemble Shumka. There are so many Ukrainian choirs and dance groups in the province, so many examples of Ukrainian heritage and cuisine, of course. Is there any even single person who doesn't like Ukrainian pierogis with the sour cream or cabbage rolls? I don't think so. When you see them, you just fell in love with them, and when you try them, you just get immediately addicted to them. Yeah, It's very dangerous stuff. Very dangerous stuff, but very healthy and very tasty. And I don't even speak about the borscht. Borscht is super special substance which affects you not only on the physical level but also on the spiritual level. Yeah, if you try borscht 3 times in your life, you'll have the special blood cells, Ukrainian blood cells in your blood for the rest of your life. Yeah, and when you then learn a couple of Ukrainian words like "Будьмо" or "Slava Ukraini," that's it. You are half Ukrainian. That's why we have so many Ukrainians here in Canada. I'm joking, but anyway, as an example, the fun November 7th, the Ukrainian-Canadian Heritage Day in Alberta, and for a strong and continuous support of Ukrainian community here. Thank you very much. Early this morning, we signed a memorandum of cooperation between Pereginski United Territorial Community in Ukraine, far in the Ivano-Frankivsk region in Ukraine, and Lemon County. And it is very symbolic that we signed it today. 130 years ago, first Ukrainian settlers from the village of Nebeliev, from the Pereginski region, came to Lemon County and established themselves there. So it is great celebration today, signing this ceremony, recalling and renewing these historical ties between Ukraine and Alberta, Ukrainian regions and regions of this beautiful province. I hope very much that this memorandum will open a new page in relations between Ukraine and Alberta and promote bilateral cooperation between the regions of 2 countries in all spheres. І, дорогі українці Альберти, я також хочу щиро подякувати вам за те, що ви тут за 1000 кілометрів від рідної неньки зберігаєте українську культуру, традиції, допомагаєте Україні, коли можете і чим можете в ті часи, і особливо зараз в ці складні часи, коли нам ця допомога надзвичайно потрібна. Я надзвичайно радий і гордий бути представником України тут, в провінції Альберти, і працювати разом з вами з такою потужною, активною і яскравою українською громадою. Дуже дякую пані Орисі за співробітництво з Конгресом українців Канади, Альбертійським провінційною радою і всім іншим організаціям, і просто українцям. Бо я дійсно за ці 2 роки мені було надзвичайно, мене прийняли, по-перше, тут дуже гарно, як в себе вдома, а по-друге, ми налагодили дуже гарне співробітництво, і мені надзвичайно приємно працювати сьогодні разом з вами. Дуже вам дякую і дуже сподіваюся, що ми ще багато чого спільного зробимо і на благо української громади тут, і на благо України. Today we write the Ukrainian flag as the recognition of great contributions of Ukrainians to the development of Alberta, as the recognitions of the important role which Ukrainian community plays in everyday life of this province, and as a symbol of good relationship and close ties between Ukraine and the province of Alberta. Happy Ukrainian-Canadian Heritage Day! Slava Ukraini!
Thank you very much, Consul General Danyleiko. Great to have you living here in this province and representing your people and your culture, and you're totally right. The food is great. Couldn't agree more. Now I would like to invite my colleague, MLA Jackie Armstrong-Homeniuk from Fort Saskatchewan-Vegreville, the riding that represents many of the Ukrainian settlement areas, to come and share with us just a little bit.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would first like to thank all of you for coming out this afternoon, and special thanks to Minister Orr and Associate Minister Isaac for the invitation to join today's celebration of Ukrainian Heritage Day in Alberta. My name is Jackie Armstrong-Homeniuk, and I'm the member for Fort Saskatchewan-Vegreville, and I'm so honored to take part in this ceremony today. As some of you may know, I'm proud to be amongst more than 370,000 Albertans of Ukrainian ancestry. A relative of mine, Ivan Pilko, arrived in Canada on September 7, 1891, and was amongst the first official recorded Ukrainian immigrants in Canada. My Baba, Annie Pilko, was born in 1906 in Nebula and came with her mother, Mary Chernik Pilko, to Canada in May of 1909. Her father, Fedor Pilko, came to Canada in 1907, and they farmed near Delft. My Guido Mike Hooley was born in 1892 to Nick and Anastasia Tanasichuk Hooley in Shishkotsky, Bukovina. He and his brother took the opportunity to come to Canada in May of 1911. He worked in many coal mines and lumber camps, and in 1922 he was able to purchase the farm just south of Chipman, Alberta. He met Baba and they were married on March 7th of 1929 and settled on his farm near Chipman, where they raised their 9 children. They both continued to live on the farm until their passing. I am very thankful that they introduced us to such a rich culture and religion. We regularly attended St. Mary's Church near Hilliard, and with Bobby and Guido, celebrating Christmas and Easter and honoring the relatives that have passed at the yearly graveyard services. Baba spent many hours showing us the fine art of pesanka decorating, teaching us traditional folk and religious songs, and delicious Ukrainian cooking. She also taught us the greatest gift one could have is family and good friends. I'm now married to a man of Ukrainian heritage, and we are so pleased to pass the Ukrainian traditions down to our children. I'm thankful that this rich culture was such a great influence in my life, and love celebrating my Ukrainian heritage, which is why I'm so humbled and honored to serve as the chair of the Advisory Council on Alberta-Ukraine Relations, ACWAR. Ukrainian culture is an important part of our province and an important part of my riding of Fort Saskatchewan-Vegreville. My riding is home to many celebrated Ukrainian attractions, including the Ukrainian Village, the world's largest pesanka, and the Pesanka Festival, which is full of Ukrainian dance and culture. The Babas and Boris Festival and the Garlics Festival, which are a showcase of food and culture, are held every year in my riding, and I encourage everyone to go out and take these in because they're great events. Ukrainians are wonderful people. The hard work of our past Ukrainian ancestors have been extremely influential in the development and prosperity we have in this province today. And for that, I will be eternally proud of my Ukrainian roots. Thank you.
Thank you very much, excuse me, MLA Armstrong-Homeniuk. And with you, the ongoing tradition of Ukrainian contribution to Alberta, even in the legislature, continues. So thank you for your service. Our next speaker is Orissa Boychuk. That's a name I can actually pronounce. She is the president of the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress, Alberta Provincial Council. Please welcome Orissa.
Welcome to Ukrainian Heritage Day 2021. Welcome to 130th anniversary of Ukrainians in Canada, and happy 30th anniversary to Ukraine's independence. That's 3 huge milestones we are celebrating today, and it is a true honor to be here and celebrate this with you. Lieutenant Governor, Honorable Minister Orr, ministers, member of the Legislative Assembly, Consul General of Ukraine in Edmonton, Oleksandr Danyleiko, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests. On behalf of the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress, Alberta Provincial Council, our local branches and member organizations, it is my pleasure to welcome you and thank you for celebrating our rich Ukrainian heritage with us today here. Today is truly a historic day. Exactly 130 years ago, Ukrainian immigrants landed in Canada, as you've heard with our previous speakers. We, fortunately, have integrated ourselves very successfully into Canadian society on all levels, professionally, politically, economically, culturally, and the Ukrainian-Canadian Alberta plays an important role in the diverse, multicultural fabric of Canada. Perseverance and resilience, along with sheer tenacity, is in our Ukrainian genes. Ukrainians have survived and overcome centuries of persecution and adversity, only to rise to the top. Over 170,000 Albertans with Canadian citizenship identify themselves as having roots, Ukrainian roots, and the Ukrainian community in this province remains strong, vibrant, and a contributing force in its development. Today, we once again celebrate the perseverance of our pioneers from every wave of immigration which came to Canada. As indicated earlier, on September 7th, 1891, two villagers from Galicia, Vasil Ilyinak and Ivan Pilepiu, came to Canada. They came to investigate the free lands that they heard about in Canada. And in 1892, the first group of settlers arrived from the Nebilyev district to Edmonton. And in 2018, the County of Lamont in Alberta declared itself to be the cradle of Ukrainian settlement in Canada. This morning, we did acknowledge the common bond that is held between Lamont County, the cradle of Ukrainian settlement in Canada, and Nebilyev-Perehinsky Community Village Council. A memorandum of understanding was signed to mark this 130th anniversary celebration of the arrival of the two pioneers. As a result of the MOU, we look forward to further strengthening our economic and cultural ties between the two, Canada and Ukraine. Ukrainians continue to immigrate, bringing with them knowledge, expertise, and experience while searching for opportunities and for the rights and freedoms that Canada offers. Ласкаво просимо відсвяткувати з Днем української канадської спадщини. Від імені Конгресу українців Канади Альберти, провінційної ради, маю честь привітати вас. Сьогодні ми вшануваємо мужність та завзятність наших українських переселенців усіх хвилів імміграції, що прибували до Канади протягом останніх 130 років. We are very proud Ukrainian Canadians who fill the ranks, and we are very proud Ukrainian Canadians to call Alberta, Canada, home. I extend a very sincere thanks to the government of Alberta for proclaiming today as Alberta's Ukrainian-Canadian Heritage Day Act, and for raising the flag here in Edmonton at the Legislature and in Calgary. Also, thank you for the government of Ukraine for joining us today as we continue to build our commitments and our futures together. Дякуємо. Слава Україні, слава Альберті.
Thank you very much, Arissa, for representing the Calgary Council of the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress and for sharing with us. So, now we have arrived at the moment I think we've all been waiting for. I'd like to invite our speakers to join me around the flagpole here, and we'll raise the flag. You can take pictures, there'll be a moment, but as we go through the ceremony, just as we begin to raise the flag, I'm going to also invite Ariana to come, and she's going to sing the Ukrainian national anthem while we raise the flag. So if you'll be respectful during that process, then after you can take all the pictures you want, okay? So I think that will be the process. I should also reinforce what Arissa alluded to. There is a parallel ceremony going on right now in Calgary to represent the folks in Calgary doing the same thing as this. So we're only half the group here, but it is happening in Calgary as well. So with that, please join me and we'll raise the flag, okay?
вмерла Україна, ні слава, ні воля, ще нам, браття молоді, усміхнеться доля. Згинуть наші вороженьки, як роса на сонці, запануєм і ми, браття, у своїй стороні.